Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Subramaniam Masalamani. I am a Tamil. Today my topic is Nation of Sri Lanka, the paradigm and paradox of a pariah nation. In Sri Lanka, it is the lack of respect for human life, traditions, heritage, culture, national character and national identity that rips this nation apart. For some 60 years and 2 generations, the nation has been indoctrinated into racism, fanaticism, and state terrorism. Is Mahinda Rajapaksa a product of a narcissistic national culture? Or Rajapaksa the maker of a narcissistic nation? Or is it the nation that the nation that created a monster and the monster took over the nation? How would one otherwise justify educated, emancipated, well-dressed professors and diplomats put so much effort trying to convince the world otherwise that nothing happened inside Sri Lanka and no one suffered even a stroke of feather? I'm talking about the 2009 genocide. Sri Lanka and its perpetrators are trying very hard, but vainly, to justify their wrongdoings, from outright denial to distortion of known facts. For 60 years internally, with very little awareness to the world, the Sri Lankan establishment had practiced fanaticism and racism-based national policy that devastated the lives of so many people and families. In 2009, it exploded, revealing to the world the inner cancer. It is the burden of the international community to fix it. Where did the name Solomon West Ridgeway D.S. Bandaranaike come from? I'm talking about the first Prime Minister, S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike, who started this. Where did the name Junius Richard Jayawarthana come from? And where did this devil Percy Mahinda Rajapaksa come from? These are neither Tamils nor Sinhalese names. These are nondescript. They have no character, no tradition, no heritage, no culture, and are of unknown pedigree. Here's a nation so tiny, so unimportant, so unusual, and so unwilling to accept responsibility for their primitive behavior. All nations, big and small, must learn from Sri Lankan experience not to do what they did and do. Looking down from 1,000 miles up in the sky, to me, it looks like a cancer in its very early stages on the surface of Earth, and it has to be cured before it gets out of hand. Fortunately, it is contained and surrounded by saline water, the ocean. Some small nations may take cue from this diseased nation and do the same to their people. What every nation and every people must realize is war is not good for anyone. No nation, no people ever benefited from war. And when that war is a genocide, it's a terrible thing. In the name of race, religion, language, or ethnicity, some corrupt criminals seek to replace people with people of different denomination. I'm talking about colonization. What good is replacing people with people going to do? What good is bastardizing a community going to do to the other community? People in one geographical domain are shaped by the nature of the domain. So replacing people with people is not going to change the behavior of people. What good is the nation of Sri Lanka going to benefit by replacing Tamils with Sinhalese? It's a negative sum game, not even a zero-sum game. There is no addition to national pride or to the national income. All we get is hatred and opportunity for revenge. Today, Sinhalese people are living in more and constant fear for the revenge may come. Julius Robert Oppenheimer, the father of atomic bomb, remarked later that the first atomic explosion brought to mind words from Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Sinhalese have inexorably and irreversibly charted their own destiny of living in constant fear. Which Tamil will become the next Julius Robert Oppenheimer? And how will he manifest? Only God knows. Sinhalese being the majority in Sri Lanka, why do they behave like minorities? Other nations, small and big, must offer their services to help this nation to recover from its ineptitude and difficulties. It is time for nations. It's time for nations, big and small, to tell Sri Lanka, enough of your nonsense. Now listen to us. We Tamils are great people. For 60 years, the Sinhalese abused us in so many ways. True, we picked up arms to defend us. I ask every nation, every leader, every citizen, what will you do when your life is threatened? I'm sure you will defend. Unfortunately, we Tamils accept fate as our future. We do not complain, but we go into ourselves and contemplate to see what error we made. It's a culture of self-incarceration and self-correction. We seldom blame others for our misfortune, miscarriages and mistakes. But a warning to the world. It is also a devil of people who will search the universe for an invincible superlative remedy to worldly atrocities. Let me explain a typical Tamil family, and then the world will begin to understand. How comes when the world is full of debt and difficulties, and Greek and Roman empires at the verge of complete obliteration due to debt, this tiny culture chugs along effortlessly? This is how it is. Every family is a nation unto itself. It's a self-sufficient. It is self-sufficient. They are a strong family structure, 5-generational family, that is grandparents, parents, man, children, grandchildren. Every man meets this 5 generations. This vertical structure gives a great longitude, combined with competitive interfamily latitude, gives them a formidable inner strength. So then there is tradition, there is cultural linkage and heritage to live by. Why would I begin my day at 4 a.m. in the morning, go until 10 p.m. when people of my age are at the retirement home waiting for the day to go? You know why? I am working to hand over something to my grandchildren. What and which my grandparents handed over to me. The secret to success is grandparents. Parents are children still growing up. When we cast our grandparents to retirement homes, we are casting away our God-given fortune. Something for the world to learn. Let me ask you another question. If you have such a huge family structure, will you send your son and daughter to invade someone or to war to kill? No. Will you go with your son and daughter to defend your heritage at home? A resounding yes. Now you can see the difference between the yes and the no. This is the Sri Lankan paradox. Defense and invasion are two different aspects. The Sinhalese invaded our homes and we defended. You decide who the real terrorists and barbarians are. I cannot be my own judge. That covenant belongs to only to a single is to be the assailant, the judge, jury, and the defender. That is the decree by Maharaja Mahinda Rajapaksa. Too many royalties in the name, but barbaric in behavior. It was never a war between. It was a war between people and pack animals. Here is my answer to people who call us terrorists. We are not terrorists. And the Sinhalese in Sri Lanka are wrongly motivated people. They are motivated by fanatism by Mahanayaka, and racism by Rajapaksa, and the jackasses and the water buffaloes. It is the responsibility of the world to go into Sri Lanka, take out these fanatics and racists, and install a just government and just society. The previous politicians and Mahinda Rajapaksa especially thought that through thuggery and intimidation and murders they can dampen the voices of the people and of the world. He resorted to unconventional methods, thinking that the world has short memory. Maybe in certain things, it's true. But when his actions become historical and vivid, they are remembered forever. Memories are short-lived, but history is eternal. The next issue here is, why is he trying to justify his actions? I'm talking about Mahinda Rajapaksa. Whom is he trying to convince and for why? He asked the media, the United Nations, and all witnesses to vacate from the conflict zone. Why did you do that? Then you say it was a humanitarian operation. How easy he thought he could fool the world. That is the very world now he is trying to convince otherwise. When you become a witness to your own trial, you become a victim for cross-examination. You know that. You are a criminal lawyer. Don't try to fool the world. You are a criminal lawyer, or your father, D.A. Rajapaksa, bought you a law degree. The way you bought your son, Namal Rajapaksa, a law degree. Either you are a fool or a fake. You take the pick. Tamils, we don't need the support or sympathy of countries that do not have morality. Let me repeat that. Tamils, we don't need the support or sympathy of countries that do not have morality, heritage, and human rights preservation. People are human, citizens are human, and nations are made of people. Then the very purpose of a nation, government, and leaders are to serve and protect the people. If any country thinks that Sri Lanka was right in denying people human rights and right to life, we don't need those nations. They are no nations. They are a collection of recognizable species of a group of animals. Animals do not follow, they obey. We don't need that kind of nations even to support us. We don't even mind even if they are against us. Any nation, and for that matter, very many nations said, you cannot run a country like a business. Then how else to run a country? I can borrow from my neighbor only one day. But then that neighbor must have surplus to give you. So if any nation thinks like Sri Lanka, that they can panhandle our way to glory, give up that idea. Sovereign debts, corporate debts, family debts, and individual debts are so high, there is no more money left for tomorrow. Leave aside future generations. Get it? Did you get it? So if there are countries they know not, or politicians pretend not to know, will wake up when people come to the streets and protest. When French people stormed Fort Bastille, democracy was born and individual creativity was born. People depending on government days are over. Sri Lanka will soon find out the importance of not just Tamil, but their nature, nurture and culture. What they have been doing is, in the name of fanaticism raising, they were plundering the Tamils. I call upon any Sinhalese to refute my contention. Sinhalese, you better go to Jaffna in Sri Lanka, where I come, our holy city, and learn the discipline and dignity of work. Or come to the West and learn and see the miracle in 25 years. And what does it take to make a living? Tourism, prostitution, and Middle East Mr. Service is not the way to build a nation. A child should not only know the mother for love, but father for ministry. I do not know if prostitution came first or broken families came first. 9 out of 10 prostitutes come from broken families. Any which way they were broken. These are lessons for Sri Lanka. Why now? Because it does not seem to learn. The nation is inexorably darting towards the black hole. Somalia will look like a child play. Stop defending your barbaric behavior. The best way to stop is to stop behaving like barbarians. When one sees Maharaja Mahinda Rajapaksa among people of caliber, he looks not like an icon, but like an eyesore. His facial expression, his dress, his posture, and all point to an aberration in personal character of a person. Is he a leader of a nation that the British nurtured well? The great gentleman who formulated and promulgated democracy and human dignity never thought there will be one like Rajapaksa born in the world to human parents to bastardize such a noble endeavor and institution called democracy. 60 years of atrocities, 6 months of bombardments, and calling Tamils as terrorists is enough. Now let's see what you got to say. You cannot continue your ignorance and foolishness in the international forum. You got away with it because Tamils are kind, absorbing people. We are not designed for aggression or aggressiveness. We are designed to be pliable and malleable people. Now, that is not an excuse for you to aggravate them and abuse them. That is in the jungle and animal kingdom, where the strong one feeds on the weak ones. But in civilized societies, we care for the small and the succumbable. We are sensitive to the challenged people, weak or small. Tamils are only 10% of the population. They cannot be a threat to 90% of the people. Then what drives your people to be animalistic? It must be some gene that is embedded in your chromosomes or a mutation that caused the aberration in character. Why do you want your war on weak, and the minorities worldwide? We are living totally alien to your country in foreign countries. Then why would you exempt your barbarism worldwide? That is what we had to remove from your mindset. If it is not in your genes. If it is in your genes, we have to crossbreed you to change your nature. When nurture is insufficient, nature is the culprit. Am I a racist and fanatic? Not by your standards. I am pious. By your standard, I am pious. Look at Mahinda Rajapaksa seated among the worldly and worthy people. He looks like an odd piece. He looks primitive. Face looks like a criminal. And it is an eyesore to the world. I wonder, in the age of globalization, can anyone still be an odd man out? It's a shame that he is allowed into world capitals. But we must praise the world for his respect for human life, dignity and freedom. Otherwise, he'll be sanctioned to a dungeon, for a criminal has no place in society. What I am doing here is to raise the specter of the pious and present Tamils to become more engaged, more engaging for freedom loving, and present your ideas forcefully without using force. Be effective and be efficiently proactive and prudent. Respect for another man does not diminish when you stand up for your rights. If you do not stand up for yourself, nobody will. I learned late in my life to stand up for what I think is right. What I think is right, even if others think I am wrong. They will respect my respect. They will respect my respect for my human rights. You are standing up for your universal law of human rights. When you stand up for your rights, you are standing up for human rights. This man Mahinda Rajapaksa is an eyesore to the world, whole world. Just before the genocide, he asked everyone, including the United Nations, to leave the Tamil areas. Then after the genocide, he sent in his bureaucratically attired criminals to the United Nations under diplomatic immunity and tried to convince that it was a humanitarian operation. In the first place, if it was a humanitarian operation, why did you ask everyone to leave? Do you think the world is stupid or suffering from short-term memory loss? It is too obvious that there was a plan and they wanted to execute a plan of genocide. Here lies the proof of planned killing, and which is the proof of genocide. When you kill people of identifiable ethnicity by a plan, it's called a genocide. We have proved to you it was a genocide. A hardened criminal knows it is hard to hit him if he stands up to it. He knows the parameters under which the civil society operates, such as innocent until proven guilty, justice takes time imposes limitations on the victim, the plaintiff has to be perfectly right with his presentation, and one doubt and the benefit of the doubt accrues to the defendant automatically. After all, he is a criminal, became a criminal lawyer. He knows too that coastal area Sinhalese are not Sinhalese, but a confused pedigree of foreigners of unknown identity. A man who has no legacy, no heritage, no tradition, no nature and nurture has no firm rock to stand on. Where did the name Solomon West Ridgway Dias Bandareka come from? Where did the name Junius Richard Jayawardena come from? And where did Percy Mahinda Rajapaksa come from? These are the three devils that devastated Sri Lanka. These are neither Tamils nor Sinhalese name. These are nondescripts. They have no tradition, no evolution, no heritage, no culture. Here is a community that has no standing, no moral values, no moral compass, and no moral direction. That is what is wrong with this country of Sri Lanka. There is no moral dimension to their lives. And anything goes as long as the stomach is full and the sexual desire is completed. There is no reflection on future for the progeny. The next question is, fine, you did a humanitarian rescue operation. Then why do you want to come out and justify it? The truth will always rise to the top. And to your surprise, despite all your efforts, the truth rose to the top, but the opposite of what you try to justify. Always remember, truth is a weak soul, rises only slowly, but surely to the top. Criminals do not believe in it. Everyone else do. One judge said, I know when I see a murderer, and if he does get away, it is either lack of evidence or a leading attorney. It is hard to convict an honest man, but difficult to convict a criminal, knowing fully he is a criminal. Mahinda Rajapaksa and gangs are known criminals. The difficulty is to convict them, but it's not impossible. Difficult maybe, impossible never. We live in a civil society. We will find a way to do it. LLRC, the Lesson Learned and Reconciliation Commission, was something part of the planned genocide. They knew there will be accountability issues, and they had it in place even before the genocide was over. India may think they are off the hook, but their complicity will become obvious if there is a proper inquiry. That is a work for us Tamils. United Nations will not investigate India. LTT was the biggest threat to India than to Sri Lanka. But the Indian knows that the rise of Dravidian Empire is unstoppable. It is the responsibility of us Tamils to keep the fire burning till the enemy is incarcerated, incinerated fully, and ashes jettisoned beyond reach. Mahinda Rajapaksa and his gangs is talking about reconciliation. How do you reconcile a lost human life? It is not something that can be reconstructed like a building, a toy, or a field of crops. It is lost forever. Everyone knows that life cannot be retrieved and that crime cannot be reconciled. Remember that. Life cannot be retrieved and that crime of killing cannot be reconciled. Mahinda Rajapaksa has a habit of killing people. I mean, really killing people. To him, it's simple. It is another piece of furniture. He has he has invited, hailed, and praised a serial killer to his presidential palace. A man who respects human life will never respect a man who takes away the lives. Sir, by that same act, you have shown the world that you have no respect for human lives. And for you to talk about reconciliation is all but hogwash to fool the world. How would the head of a nation invite a known serial killer and honor him? That means you have no respect for human life. Isn't it? Or am I wrong? How can you be as a head of a nation? How can you be a head of a nation if you do not know that life is precious and cannot be retrieved and recompensed? This is the proof that you are a Nazi and your community is Nazistic. You can try every trick in the book, but universal justice can stand on its own without any deliberation. You have, sir, finally met your crime reaper. The story of Ralph the wolf and Sam the sheepdog. This animated television cartoon series is built around the idea that both Ralph and Sam are just doing their jobs. The cartoon begins at the beginning of a work day in which Ralph and Sam arrive at the sheep grazing meadow, exchange pleasant chit-chat, and punch into the same time clock. Work having officially begun, Ralph, the wolf, tries to abduct the helpless sheep and invariably fails, either through his own ineptitude or the efforts of Sam, the sheepdog, who always brutally punishes for the attempt. Ironically, Ralph works very hard at his job to catch a sheep and always fails, while Sam works very diligently at his job and protects the sheep and always succeeds. In this story, Ralph is the bad guy and Sam is the good guy. Ralph is not ready to give up and Sam is not either. Mahinda Ralph Rajapaksa will keep trying to get away with crime. Sam the Tamil will keep foiling it. Ultimately, Tamils will prevail and Rajapaksa will go to gallows. The laws of the universe are infallible and unfoilable. Because of the immutable laws of the universe, men do not kill. But animals do, for though they do not have the faculty to comprehend universal laws. But animals do not kill their own kind. In this spectrum, where do the singlist murderers belong to? We Tamils absorbed 60 years of discrimination, abuse, racism, fanaticism, and then in 2009 we left 40,000 lives, 150,000 lives, 150,000 lives unaccounted for. Then they have the audacity to come to the world-renowned United Nations and justify that they are decent people. They talk so well that anyone listening for the first time will believe them. It was a quality of doing the dirty and talking the piety, the trademark of Sri Lankan criminals. The quality of doing the dirty and then talking piety is a trademark that belongs to them. That senseless, directionless character emanated from the infusion of dirty genes from the trading, traveling crowd and sailors. When you send out your ladies to be live-in mistresses and invite tourists, you are extirpating the already polluted people. Haggle and struggle defines their day and their lives. It is an accepted norm, and it's norm. The current attempt and effort by the Sri Lankan government to cover up and clean up the wrongdoings of Mahinda Rajapaksa. The current attempt and effort by the Sri Lankan government is to cover up and clean up the wrongdoings of Mahinda Rajapaksa. For he was the eye of the hurricane. The orders came from him to kill people lock, stock and barrel. He was not alone. For this has been a policy of successive governments irrespective of parties. The other major United National Party did the same. Then where comes the directive? That is the seminal source of the Sri Lankan episode and the repeat of racial riots and war. For that, one must look at Mahavamsa, the chronicle, they call it, I call it the main camp. The Mahasangha, the Third Reich, and the Mahanayakas, the Hitler and his team, this is where lies the Sri Lankan problem. Until Mahavamsa is banned and burned, the Mahasangha dismantled, and the Mahanayakas removed from political process, there will never be a solution to this ethnic strife and divide. I do not know how many you are aware. Soon after the genocide in 2009, they appointed a singlist governor to the devastated Tamil areas who reports directly to the Mahanayaka, the head of the Mahasangha of the Mahavamsa. The Nayakas, the Nayaka, the Sangha, the Vamsa, the axis of evil in Sri Lanka. Mahinda Rajapaksa's mandate was to kill, that's it. Now the cultural, racial and religious genocide is done by the Mahanayaka with the help of the military. There is every evidence it was a planned genocide. Some Tamils are stupid enough not to comprehend. There will never be an end to this racial and fanatical campaign until one of the two things happen. Either some foreign power enters and establishes civil and just society, or the Tamils find a means to superlative power, the way Israel did. Folks, that is too much for this week. But as I always said, 70 million Tamils worldwide, unite, stay together, work hard, and never ever give up. The best is yet to come, and we are winning. Remember what Dalai Lama said, no man can survive or live without a community. My name is Subramaniam Maslamani, a world-class Tamil, powered by convictions, commitments and conscience.